Tonya. Tonya is a 2017 American biographical sports mockumentary black comedy film directed by Craig Gillespie and written by Steven Rogers. It follows the life and career of American figure skater Tonya Harding and her connection to the 1994 assault on her rival Nancy Kerrigan. The film states it is based on contradictory and totally true interviews with Harding and her ex-husband Jeff Gillespie, suggesting they are unreliable narrators. This means the viewer must decide for themselves whether to see the film as the truth or as a version concocted by Harding herself. It features darkly comedic interviews with the characters in mockumentary style set in the modern day and breaks the fourth wall. Margot Robbie, who also produced, stars as Harding, Sebastian Stan as Gillespie, and Allison Janney as Harding's mother, Lavona Golden. Julian Nicholson, Caitlin Carver, Paul Walter Hauser, and Bobby Cannavale also star. In 1974, Portland, Oregon, a 4-year-old Tonya Harding is forced to ice skate by her abusive mother, Lavona Golden. As Tonya grows up, her parents take her out of school to focus on her skating career as she trains under coach Diane Rollinson. Tonya's father leaves her with her abusive mother. Tonya rapidly becomes one of the best figure skaters in the United States, but is held back by her white trash reputation, homemade costumes, and unconventional choice of performance music, ZZ Top. At 15, she begins dating 18-year-old Jeff Gillespie. They marry, but Jeff becomes abusive. When Lavona scorns Tonya for putting up with it, Tonya blames Lavona for raising her badly. After a dispute with Diane, Tonya fires her and hires Dodie Teachman as her new coach. Tonya becomes the first American female figure skater to complete 2 triple axel jumps in competition. At the 1992 Winter Olympics, Tonya fails to stick her landings and finishes 4th. Defeated, she takes a job as a waitress, but Diane convinces her to train for the 1994 Winter Olympics. She performs well, but still gets poor scores. She confronts a judge about her scores. He explains that Tonya's image is not wholesome enough. Tonya approaches her mother for help, but is scolded and rebuffed, leading Tonya to reluctantly ask Jeff for support. On the day of her November 1993 competition at the Northwest Pacific Regional Championships in Portland, Tonya receives a death threat and chooses not to compete. Realizing that he can sabotage Tonya's competition, Jeff instructs his friend Sean Eckhart to send death threats to Tonya's rival Nancy Kerrigan. Tonya makes a phone call trying to locate Nancy's training arena and her practice times. Sean hires 2 inept crooks to injure Nancy after a practice session in Detroit. In January 1994, Sean's henchmen strike Nancy's knee and she cannot compete at the next day's national competition. The hired henchmen are arrested. Sean's bragging quickly leads the FBI to him. He blames Jeff, who is horrified to learn that Sean instigated the entire affair in order to draw attention. Tonya qualifies for the Olympic team, but realizes she will be found guilty by association. She goes to the FBI and reports what Jeff and Sean did, but they show her interview transcript to Jeff after his arrest, and he races home to confront her. She briefly speaks to Jeff from behind a locked door, then climbs out the window, leaving him for good. Jeff later implicates Tonya by saying she knew beforehand about the attack. Lavona visits Tonya and offers her kind words. However, when she asks if Tonya had prior knowledge of the attack, Tonya realizes that Lavona is wearing a wire and throws her out. Jeff, Sean, and the henchmen are charged, and Tonya's hearing is postponed until after the Olympics. Tonya finishes 8th and Nancy wins the silver medal. When Oksana Bayul edges Nancy out for the gold and the first ever Olympic medal for independent Ukraine, Tonya accuses Nancy of being a poor sport. Tonya avoids jail but is banned from competitive figure skating for life. Heartbroken, she begs the judge to give her jail time instead of taking away the one thing she knows how to do. The judge refuses. Jeff acknowledges that he ruined Tonya's career. He changes his name, opens a hair salon, divorces, and remarries. Lavona moves to Washington State and has no contact with Tonya. Tonya remarries, divorces, takes up professional boxing, and becomes a landscaper, house painter, and deck builder. She now lives happily with her third husband and their 7-year-old son. Text at the end states that Tonya wants people to know that she is a good mother. Margot Robbie as Tonya Harding, McKenna Grace as young Tonya, Maisie Smith as 4-year-old Tonya, Sebastian Stan as Jeff Gillily, Tonya's boyfriend, later ex-husband, Allison Janney as Lavona Golden, Tonya's abusive mother, Julian Nicholson as Diane Rollinson, Tonya's skating coach, Caitlin Carver as Nancy Kerrigan, Tonya's skating rival and Olympic teammate and the victim of the 1994 attack, Bojana Novakovic as Dodie Teachman, another of Tonya's coaches, Paul Walter Hauser as Sean Eckhart, a bodyguard and friend of Jeff, Bobby Cannavale as Martin Maddox, a former reporter, Dan Triandaflu as Bob Rollinson, Diane's husband and Tonya's attorney, Ricky Russert as Shane Stant, hired by Jeff and Sean to attack Nancy, Anthony Reynolds as Derek Smith, Stant's uncle, previous friend of Sean, first hired to attack Nancy before recruiting Stant himself to injure her, Cassidy Boutcom as Oksana Bayul, competitor in the Winter Olympics, uncredited, Fee Dieter as Midori Ido, uncredited.